This video is a film study focused on Nick Emmanwori, the rookie safety slash nickel defender for the Seahawks, who put up 9 tackles, 4 passes defensed, also split a sack in Sunday's win over the Arizona Cardinals. He played 70 snaps. Seattle took over early. They got 2 fumbles returned for touchdowns from DeMarcus Lawrence, who split the sack with Emmanwori. I want to get right to the film generally in all of my recent content, and I like to give my summary thoughts on the player and the game at the end. I do want to mention, however, there's some advanced stats out there that I kind of question a little bit. 2 different sources indicated that Emmanwori gave up 6 catches on 12 targets. That could be the case, but it seemed to me, early in the game at least, he wasn't targeted much at all. We'll give you a lot of film here of his coverage. In addition, I like to give a representative sample of the player. I can't show every particular snap, obviously, with him playing 70 snaps on Sunday. But when I do a player film study video, you'll sometimes see a negative play. That's intentionally included to give a complete look at the player and how they performed. In this case, Emmanwori is 21 years old, primarily playing nickel DB, but occasionally dime. Actually, a couple of snaps down the goal line as a pseudo edge defender. And by the way, he won't turn 22 until the day before this season's Super Bowl. As I said, generally in my film study videos, I do like to include some plays that are at least negative or give us an opportunity to provide some constructive criticism. First of all, Emmanwori was often matched up against Trey McBride on Sunday. That's the same Trey McBride that had 111 catches in 2024. He now has 61 catches on the year. He had 9 catches on 13 targets in the game, some of which were against Emmanwori. But they're both reps. Both guys won some of their reps against each other. Tough matchup, if you ask me, for a rookie in his 6th game. But in any case, let's get the film started. On the second possession here, it's a 2nd and 4. Emmanwori, for whatever reason, is going to get into a pedal here. He's got no work to his side of the field with the ball on the right hash, meaning there's no receiver for him to line up off of. He seemed to be communicating pre-snap with Bryant and kind of pushing him to center field. The edge defender for Seattle, Hall, is actually being engaged by pulling offensive lineman. It's the center. In fact, running back decides to bounce this, and in my opinion, Emmanwori has just given up too much ground, and he will do so even after I unpause it, meaning he's too far gone, getting too much depth, and really he does get credit for the tackle here, to be honest with you, but I think it's quite obvious that he could have been there sooner. Bryant ends up making first contact. Like I said, both guys get credit for the tackle, in my opinion. This is one that you'd like to have back. As the primary force defender, being a nickel DB, you've got to be quicker downhill on any type of run trigger to your side. Third possession here, it's a 2nd and 6. Seattle's already jumped all over Arizona, taking a 21-0 lead. He'll blitz off the edge along with DeMarcus Lawrence. Super athletic play here by both guys. And again, there's no wide receiver for him to line up off of between the number 1 wide receiver, Harrison, and then the right tackle. It's trips into the boundary with the running back set over there as well. Super unusual or random formation by Arizona. But in any case, really athletic move by him to redirect off of the running back's block. In addition, DeMarcus Lawrence just runs right underneath of the pulling lineman who is assigned to block him. I'll give you the end zone angle so you can check it out and appreciate the move by both of these guys and finishing off the sack. Not easy to redirect after getting upfield, kind of fold back underneath, which is what Emmanwori does, arriving just in time along with DeMarcus Lawrence. End zone angle of the same play. Again, the ball on the left hash for the offense, right side for us. Trips and the running back set into the boundary by Arizona. Emmanwori's off screen to our left. He's going to blitz and take on the running back, whose path is illustrated by that purple line. And then the left guard is going to pull and try to take on Lawrence. Lawrence immediately leaves him in the dust and jumps to the inside. And then Emmanwori overpowers the running back, setting him back and then shedding the block. Looks like he tries to take his right hand and perhaps start to jump at or try to punch at the football. Ends up wrapping the quarterback's legs up for his first career sack. Really, this whole team at this point in time is full of finishers. And what I mean by that is whether it's Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Byron Murphy, or in this case, Nick Emmanwori, guys are taking advantage of their opportunities when they get at the quarterback. And in some cases, like this play here, they're actually in competition with each other in trying to get to the quarterback first. Moving on to the second quarter, Seattle's already extended their lead to 35-0. He's actually a dime linebacker here. Witherspoon is playing the nickel set to the field. I should have explained this earlier. I usually use this vertical blue line to illustrate where the ball is. In this case, the bottom side of the field is the boundary or the short side. The top side or above that blue line is the field. Running back lined up to the field will slide out into the boundary. The dime linebacker position is different than the nickel DB. The nickel DB is essentially a safety, referred to as a safety. In fact, the dime is, in fact, a linebacker. A couple of things happen here. Number one, post-snap, Thomas, who's usually the will linebacker playing into the boundary, but playing the Mike position since Ernest Jones IV was unable to go. He gives direction to Emmanwori basically to take the running back. So what I'm referring to is the running back crossing the quarterback's face, which means Emmanwori is closer to that side of the field, so he'll defend it, as opposed to the running back releasing to this side. My suspicion is Thomas would take him and Emmanwori would slide to the middle of the field. You can consider it a match coverage by the inside linebackers, Thomas and Emmanwori, if you want. Some just refer to it as a banjo concept. In any case, patience to stay on top of this route and not close too much distance. I think it's Nwosu kind of misses an opportunity at a tackle here on Brissett. Brissett steps up in the pocket and then finds the time to try to deliver this football down the field. Emmanwori closing the space on the running back up the sideline, gets one of his 4 passes defensed. Same play from the end zone angle. The dime linebacker will typically be matched up against the running back, who's oftentimes set into the boundary. That's been Thomas's job so far in 2025. I think he's only started 4 games, but his stats are spectacular, number 1. Number 2, with Jones out this week, I think because of a knee injury, Thomas filled in perfectly. Same play from the end zone angle. Like I said, the running back is going to cross face, and you'll see the communication by Thomas, basically directing traffic, if you will, letting Emmanwori know verbally that he's got confirmation that he should pick up the running back into the boundary. And Nwosu, like I said, missing the opportunity at a sack. He hasn't missed too many of those so far this year. Brissett looking for space with Leonard Williams in his face. Really nice job by Emmanwori, if you ask me. First of all, trying to get the interception. I mean, that's what he's going for here. Unable to corral it. Pass rushers for Seattle usually get there in time such that these things don't occur. What I mean is these secondary opportunities to throw the football down the field. Emmanwori's got such great length, range, burst, whatever you want to call it. You know, he matches up with tight ends and running backs equally well. The more snaps, the more reps he gets, I just think you'll see a more efficient player. He was very productive this week. 9 tackles, like I said, 4 PDs, the split sack. For him to get 70 snaps in a game like this, where Seattle's obviously in control, is important, not just long-term, but also in the short term, because this team, when they get everybody back healthy at the linebacker and the DB level, has insane depth and efficiency across the board. The very next snap after that incompletion, again, consider him to have been lined up at dime linebacker on the previous snap. Now you've got Knight and Thomas on together on a 3rd and 13. So I don't know what position to provide him as. It almost looks like he's playing boundary side corner to me. But in any case, this is obviously a loss. McBride's going to beat him across the field. It's a mesh concept. So basically, he's going to get picked by the number 3 receiver from the top side. I think that's Wilson. But it could be one of the other tight ends. My apologies for that. In any case, McBride goes underneath here. And the top side portion of the mesh is essentially a pick, a rub, or shield concept, however you want to refer to it. It forces Emmanwori to go over the top. In addition, Emmanwori slips right here, trying to change direction, and that's already created space for McBride. Secondary space is created because, number 1, the quarterback has time, which has been unusual in 2025. But number 22, you can see the pick by, I think that's 84. Again, it might be a tight end. He certainly looks bigger than Wilson to me, but it might be Higgins. My apologies. In any case, it gives McBride plenty of space to win over the top. Clean throwing platform for Brissett. Wide open against Emmanwori. Pretty big loss, creates an 18-yard gain. Same possession here. So far, he's been asked to do a lot just in the film that I'm presenting to you. Obviously, nickel DB, dime linebacker. I don't know what position you want to call that on the previous snap. To me, it just looks like they're matching up man-to-man, and wherever McBride went, that's where Emmanwori would have matched. 4th and 1 on that same possession. We're talking about inside of 5 minutes left in the second quarter. I believe Seattle's up 35-0. This is the goal line stand. The first contact is made by the D lineman. I think this is Peely, who forced the fumble last week against the Commanders on a kickoff. And then finally, the tackle is by Okada. I'm just including this play so you can see what Emmanwori is asked to do. He's part of the goal line package here. It's a lead concept with 2 eligible offensive linemen. First of all, this guy 71 lined up at fullback is going to lead the way for the tailback. And then another eligible offensive lineman, I think it's 68, set up as the right side tight end. Tight end to win in motion, 84. Higgins, like I said, base blocking. Emmanwori, who is basically the force defender. Peely makes first contact. Great read, man, from Okada, who's playing some fantastic football at times. Really instinctive reaction here. Quick, fills the gap. Why is that gap there? Because Emmanwori is holding his position. Could he do a better job of lowering his pad level and not allowing himself to be expanded? Sure. But in any case, he knows that someone will fit inside of that gap to his inside, and in this case, it was Okada. Of course, we know what happened. I think 2 plays later, the Seahawks turn the football over. Fumble charge to Darnold leads to the Cardinals' first touchdown. Later in the second quarter here, it's now 38-7. Seahawks on a 2nd and 10. We're inside of 2 minutes left. He's at dime linebacker once again, with Witherspoon set up as the nickel DB to the field. 3 to the boundary, and what I mean when I refer to it that way is 3 receivers eligibles lined up into the boundary, one of which is a tight end, the second is McBride, and then the third, the outside guy, is a receiver. Almost kind of like a snag concept, running back going into the flats, and the outside receiver running a snag concept. The only difference is the inside receiver, McBride, is running an in cut. Quick reaction here, if you ask me, by Emmanwori. Quarterback initially looks to the downside briefly, comes back to this quick game concept, and he's got a lot going on. Number 1, the snag concept by the outside receiver. Number 2, he's got the running back out into the flats. Emmanwori is very patient here, and I suspect that if the running back is the recipient here or the target, that Emmanwori will be able to break on it and make a tackle for a very short gain. As it stands, he's able to get his hand in here upon arrival of the football and get one of his 4 PDs on the day. Violent, chopping nature, seeing things in front of him. I'm impressed, pleased to see that in a zone concept, a zone-style reaction, whereas you've got man down here, so some evidence that we're looking at a split field coverage, Emmanwori seems to be able to match up with receivers based upon the way the route delineates post-snap. Still on that same possession, late second quarter, he's now the dime linebacker into the boundary, once again matched up with McBride. Witherspoon set up as the nickel to the field. Out concept to McBride, who does make the catch. There's a little bit of a touch and grab between Emmanwori and McBride right around the 22-yard line. Really nice job to get his hands on and knock McBride out of bounds. Out of bounds and force an incomplete pass. You can see the left foot gets down, but the right foot does not. Perhaps a step slower here in his transition, facing McBride on an outcut, but the ball's delivered quickly because Brissett knew that he had the pass rush that was oncoming. To get the opportunity to cover McBride so many times, some wins, some losses, I showed you one, the big one on the 3rd and 13, is important for, number 1, his development, but also the short-term versatility of the defense overall. Like I talked about earlier on, once everyone comes back healthy, presumably at the same time, Job, Julian Love, Ernest Jones IV, you're talking about a packed 2nd and 3rd level of this defense, guys competing with each other just to get on the field. This is the same play from the end zone angle. Emmanwori is just off screen to your left, illustrated by that white spot shadow. Thomas is set up as the mic to the field. The target, again, is McBride on an outcut. I'll kind of slow this down for you guys to see it once the ball arrives. McBride has 61 catches this year on 70% completion percentage, which is impressive for the number of targets. He's getting 9 of 13 on Sunday in terms of catches to targets. Great job of getting his hands. The functional strength here, if you ask me, shows up for Emmanwori. Being able to push McBride, who's, got a big frame, being able to push him out of bounds and force the referees to rule that it's incomplete because he only got 1 foot down. If you look at the range of responsibilities or tasks that he was given on Sunday, nickel linebacker, dime, whatever you would refer to it on the 3rd and 13 when he gives up the catch on a mesh concept to McBride, the edge defender in a goal line situation, you're talking about a lot was asked of him, and in my opinion on Sunday, he lived up to the billing. By the way, this possession was thwarted for Arizona from Boye Mafe's, I think, first single sack or solo sack of the year late in the second quarter. Another matchup with McBride here down into the boundary on a 2nd and 6 early in the third quarter. Quick out by McBride, who's set up in a 3-point stance for some reason. Couple of things happen here that I'd like to mention. First of all, Okada is on the running back. So the way Seattle's matching this is Okada on the running back, Emmanwori on the safety, and Woolen on the outside receiver, which I think is Wilson. So just straight man into the boundary. Really nice fight around the outside. Both of these guys are putting hands on each other, obviously. McBride's got his hands out to extended to create space. Emmanwori's got his hand holding a little bit to deny it. Quarterback delivers the football once Woolen jumps the snag concept, which, again, was his man. Really nice pass defense. When he was forced to compete, which is what I think Seahawks fans and the coaching staff want to see, Emmanwori was able to stand up against McBride. Again, gave up the 1 catch early. I'll show you a completed pass later on here, the final snap that I'll illustrate from this game. This one, to me, is one of the more exciting ones because he's in direct competition with someone else who has the same size, same length and quickness, but great ball skills in McBride, and in this case, he got a win. Same play from the end zone angle. Again, Emmanwori matched up with the tight end McBride. Going to run kind of a quick out concept. Watch Okada go underneath of, or I should say between those two guys before McBride's route breaks to the outside. Okada is super decisive. Both him and Thomas, if you ask me, they're getting as much as they possibly can out of that duo. Woolen matched up on Wilson, the outside receiver, running the snag. Brissett sees it, reads it, and decides to go to the tight end. Emmanwori, one more time, a great pass defense, in my opinion. Overall for the day, 70 snaps, 9 tackles, the 4 PDs, splitting the sack with Lawrence. You're talking about tremendous production. There's little things that could perhaps be a little bit better. I think in 2 of his coverage situations, the feet were a little bit more sluggish. He wasn't as decisive. However, as I'll illustrate on the final play, he's got great awareness where his help is and where he should leverage the football. So this is what I mean. We're now early into the fourth quarter. Seattle's up, that should say 38-7 at this point. Emmanwori actually got hurt 2 plays earlier covering Wilson, the wide receiver. He's matched up against Higgins, I think a backup or second-string tight end. This one goes down as a completion. First of all, Seattle has walked a safety up into the box, so there's no help in the middle of the field for Emmanwori. So watch him just before the snap claim or take inside leverage, basically closing off that as an option for the tight end, which is a positive. The drawback, of course, it opens up the possibility for the tight end to get to the outside. Immediate pressure, I think Okada was running a pick stunt. And so Brissett is throwing this ball, off his back foot, kind of fading away. But he still puts it in a great spot for the tight end to go get it. It's a really nice completion. It's a, quote, loss for Emmanwori, don't get me wrong. But given the context of what he did not have, any help in the middle of the field, this is what's there based upon his alignment post-snap. An out-breaking route, when the quarterback is fading away, of course you don't want to give that up. But the idea here is, or what I'm trying to present to you, is Emmanwori knows where his help was and where it wasn't. I should actually say he didn't have help on that play. It was essentially straight man-to-man. I think he stood up well against the test in this game. Watched all the film so far. 6 catches on 12 targets. I mean, I'll accept that. I don't know it to be true because I didn't track it myself. I really am distrustful of a lot of stats that are put out there. I still think that despite a couple of the coverage snaps having a little bit slower feet or slipping on the one completion to McBride on the 3rd and 13, he showed a lot of burst, great range. The competitive nature is what shines through in this game, in my opinion, at the catch point. Very productive. Again, only his 6th NFL game, and he's going up against McBride, who they force-fed McBride some in 2024, don't get me wrong, but he still produced 111 catches. He's a top-tier tight end. Emmanwori was there to battle against him all day. He's got all of the physical gifts, in my opinion, that you need. The short area quickness would be a relative weakness to me compared to all of the other skills, but he's motivated to get on the field. Who wouldn't be in Seattle, right? You got great coaching, a lot of experienced teammates. Everyone's playing at a high level. They don't want to let each other down. So there's competition with the other team, but even within the structure of the roster. Also, in my opinion, he's matching up with guys who have equal athletic ability to him, in the case of McBride, at least. And so for him to be able to compete even after an earlier loss while displaying versatility across the same game, nickel DB, dime linebacker, edge defender, outside corner on the loss on the 3rd and 13, I wonder how effective, how versatile he'll be by week 15 or week 18 or even the playoffs, given the amount of snaps that he's being offered right now. 70 on Sunday. Once Julian Love, Josh Jobe, Ernest Jones IV, once all those guys come back, there'll have to be some type of rotation because everyone there is talented, number one, and everyone there has proven that they can live up to their responsibilities. And I think that's a good thing for Nick Emmanwori, to be honest with you. A, that he's moved all over, and B, that there'll be some competition within the structure of the roster on the defensive side. It'll basically mean if you want to get on the field, which he does, and he deserves it, he's got to execute at a high level. I think he's already proven at this point to have been an extremely wise choice by the Seahawks front office early in the 2nd round of a draft that, many expected him to go in the 1st round. I think it could be a historically good one for Seattle, who's obviously had some of those drafts already. In my opinion, this was fun film to watch. First of all, as a fan, I'm sure it had to be fun to watch the game live. I didn't get the chance to do so. I was watching and tracking the Lions game. But anytime your team scores 2 defensive touchdowns so early and ends up being up 21-0 and 35-0, quick, really for the 2nd straight week, you can kind of exhale and relax. I don't think Emmanwori does that, though. I don't think the players do that. I think he's trying to execute on every single snap, but sitting here evaluating the game, either live or once it's completed and the All-22/Endzone Angle film comes out, watching him, it does give you a little bit of an appreciation for the fact that he stayed focused and super competitive despite the score differential being so great. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, first of all, please let me know in the comment section. Likes and comments really help drive the any type of engagement, I should say, helps drive the exposure of the video out to larger audiences. So if you'd like to see my work, rewarded with more views and obviously more revenue for me, then please consider liking and commenting on the video to influence the YouTube algorithm to kind of push things along. But if you think other Seahawks fans specifically would enjoy this content, my thoughts on Nick Emmanwori and how I tried to illustrate my thoughts with the plays that I chose to show, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.